Adventure. It's the one thing that some of us live for. A select few thrive in the face of it. Adventure dictates who we are and who we aren't, and it drives us to do things that any reasonable human being would question why when faced with it. But I prefer why not. Some people would call this spirited, others would call it stupid. The Panda is a compact city car designed by the engineers at Fiat for nothing more than 20-minute pops to the shop for organic milk, brown bread with seeds, and a pot of hummus for dipping in reasonable comfort and even more reasonable speed. It was most certainly not designed for green laning, with rocks as large as the 1.2 litre engine to overcome. It was most certainly not designed for wet, thick sand which could bog the whole car in an instant with the tide quickly approaching. It was most certainly not designed for live military training planes. But before all of that, an early morning was in order. First port of call on the map was Salisbury Plain Training Area, an active Ministry of Defence training area frequently used for large-scale military training exercises. We continued our drive closer and closer to the point, unbeknownst to us that the red flags littering the landscape meant life-threatening activity was being undertaken, such as the use of live ammunition, and that no public access was allowed. Of incorrectly identified poles of inconvenience and a cracked sump false alarm later, we discovered the small potential issue of our car being blown into a million tiny Italian pieces if we wanted to reach the real pole of inconvenience.
Military firing range. Keep out when red flags are flying.
Red flags?
Red flag.
Red flags? Do you want to try that again?
Fucking red flag that.
We eventually decided we all enjoyed keeping our organs inside our bodies too much, and so we found the closest landmark for an awful group photo and soldiered on.
Oh, bash that. Yes! On there.
Some vehicular repairs later, we were ready to head to the next pole of inconvenience.
I just wanted to point out how good the handbrake is.
It was only a short climb up a rutted track, no problem for our little motor. Little did we know at the time that this little manoeuvre was going to cost us 3 hours of intense back-braking, pushing, winching, jacking, wheel spinning, more pushing, and finally euphoria as we ended up exactly where we started, 3 hours earlier. Well, as the saying goes, if at first you don't succeed, try again. What the saying doesn't warn you of, however, is that you will inevitably meet an impassable gate.
This might be a problem.
And discover all your efforts were for nothing.
I mean, it's just the fact that it comes up on this, like right up to the edge. What? So we can't really stay up on the ridge.
I was thinking plank there.
Courageously, we decided to give up and start on our way to the next pole, where we would stay the night, ready to conquer first thing the next morning. With our failures of the previous day still ringing true in our minds, we soon found ourselves yet again climbing. This time, however, we weren't going to accept anything less than utter triumph, regardless of whether the Panda made it out the other side alive.
Alright, momentum!
Go, go, go!
Oh, so maybe that was just caught in the fan. That was making the noise. Oh.
So we've actually fixed it.
You decided to remove the bumper rather than risk it coming off and running over it. And also make sure the radiator's mounted properly.
Not that bad.
Some more questionable driving later, we made it to the pole. There we found some sheep and some more sheep, and then we did some tasteful decoration of the car by acquiring a brand new hood ornament. At the top of the hill, boy, were we met with some incredible views. With our first real pole completion, spirits were high as we kept driving north, making new friends along the way. Eagerly awaiting what lay ahead of us the following day.
Peninsula! We in the peninsula, maybe?
Back in England, we were preparing for a bit of a break from the previous 2 days of attempting to reach the highest points above sea level. It turns out that break involved trying not to end up under sea level.
Like, this is water on Waze.
Oh shit.
Waze says it's more some of it.
After a little bit of soft sand lining the entrance to the beach byway,
It's working!
it was all smooth sailing up to the marked point on the map. Thinking we'd already completed this pole, we stopped for lunch without realising that we had, in reality, barely passed the start line.
Get ready to jump out. I think we're slipping. Yeah, I would say jump out, jump out, jump out, bail, bail.
It seemed as though every small step forwards was taking hours of digging, pushing and digging again.
You can see where we got stuck like 45 minutes ago.
We had half the locals call us idiots, although most warmed up to the idea after we explained what we were doing. We had arrived at low tide, but with the sun falling ever lower in the sky, as we struggled to free the Fiat from increasingly damp dunes, we weren't sure how high the tide would inevitably reach, or how much time we had left before it happened. All we could do was seize every patch of solid ground until finally we got the car moving again.
Oh! He's going home! Yes! Yes! Woo!
After over 4 hours stuck in the sand,
I smashed this up.
and some help from a local after we'd let all the tyres down for extra traction, we pulled into Sainsbury's for supplies.
So we've just bumped into these two giant off-road beasts stopping in Sainsbury's, and they invited us to come off-roading with them. They're going to climb a mountain tonight, and then we're going to camp at the top of the mountain with them. They got roof tents, they got kitchens in the back. They've been round bloody Arctic Circle, and we're going to join them for this evening. Absolute beasts.
As we neared the base of the mountain, a smashed Toyota Land Cruiser gave us our first glimpse of what we had signed up for, but nothing could have prepared us for what was to come.